February 2. France ratifies the Élysée Accords, recognizing the sovereignty of the state of Vietnam under former Emperor Bao Dai, although the country remains within the French Union and under French military and diplomatic oversight. February 2. German-born physicist Klaus Fuchs is arrested in the UK for passing classified nuclear information to the Soviet Union. His confession triggers one of the first major espionage scandals of the Cold War. February 5. The USSR and the People's Republic of China sign a technical agreement concerning the future return of the naval base at Port Arthur, Lushan. The Soviet Union agrees to withdraw in due course, with China regaining full control by 1955. February 7. Iceland becomes a member of the Council of Europe, strengthening its ties to post-war democratic institutions. February. Exact date unclear. Diners Club issued the first modern charge card in the United States. Initially printed on cardboard and accepted by 27 New York restaurants, the card marks the beginning of consumer credit as we know it. February 9, U.S. Senator Joseph McCarthy delivers his infamous Wheeling speech, claiming that communists have infiltrated the State Department. His allegations ignite the era of McCarthyism and the Red Scare. February 13, a U.S. Air Force B-36 bomber crashes off the coast of British Columbia, Canada, after jettisoning a Mark IV nuclear bomb. The weapon lacked a fissile core and posed no nuclear threat. It is considered the first recorded broken arrows incident. February 14, the USSR and China signed the Sino-Soviet Treaty of Friendship, Alliance, and Mutual Assistance. The 30-year pact includes mutual defense provisions and signals a formal alignment between the two communist powers. February 16. East Germany establishes the Ministry for State Security, Stasi, which will become one of the most extensive and oppressive surveillance agencies of the Cold War. February 17. A subway collision in Queens, New York City, results in 29 deaths and over 100 injuries, one of the deadliest transit accidents in the city's history. February 19. The United States breaks diplomatic relations with Bulgaria after Sofia expels several American diplomats on charges of espionage. Washington retaliates by expelling Bulgarian diplomats from the U.S. February 22. Egypt and Israel finalize a modus vivendi regarding the Gaza Strip, defining it as a neutral zone under Egyptian military administration, pending a broader peace settlement. February 23. British general elections give Prime Minister Clement Attlee's Labour Party a narrow majority, allowing him to remain in office, though with significantly reduced parliamentary support. February 24. Israeli and Jordanian representatives initial a 5-year peace treaty proposal that includes joint control of Jerusalem and bilateral trade agreements. However, the pact is never ratified by either government and does not come into effect. February 26. South Korea adopts constitutional amendments aimed at strengthening presidential powers amid escalating tensions with North Korea just months before the outbreak of war. February 9. At the University of California, Berkeley, scientists Stanley G. Thompson, Kenneth Street Jr., Albert Ghiorso, and Glenn T. Seaborg create a brand new element, Californium, with atomic number 98 and the symbol CFF. This ultra-radioactive metal does not exist in nature and is a close cousin of uranium and plutonium. Only a few grams have ever been produced since 1950. But even in such tiny amounts, it became a powerful scientific tool. Californium can be used as a neutron source, firing invisible particles that make other atoms reveal their secrets. This technique, called neutron activation analysis, lets scientists detect hidden substances without destroying the sample. It can show whether a rock contains gold or uranium, or whether water has been poisoned by lead or mercury. Biologists use it to study the chemical makeup of tissues, and in medicine, Californium's neutrons are used in special radiotherapy treatments for cancers, such as brain tumors that resist traditional X-ray therapy. February 15. Walt Disney Studios releases Cinderella in the United States. For Disney, it was more than just another fairy tale. It was a matter of survival. After the war, the studio was nearly bankrupt. Ambitious films like Pinocchio, Fantasia, and Bambi had been artistic milestones, but financial disappointments, especially in international markets disrupted by World War II. Cinderella changed everything. It combined a timeless story with technical innovations in animation. Disney artists used extensive live-action reference footage, real actors filmed performing the scenes to help animators capture more naturalistic movement. They also introduced multiplane camera techniques to create depth and richness in the backgrounds. The film blended traditional hand-drawn animation with experimental methods that gave characters like the fairy godmother and the pumpkin to coach transformation an almost magical realism. The gamble paid off. Cinderella was a huge commercial success, pulling Disney out of financial crisis and launching a new golden age of animated features. The film also earned 3 Academy Award nominations: Best Sound Recording, Best Original Score, Best Original Song. Though it didn't win, the recognition confirmed Disney's return to the spotlight. In later years, Cinderella would win a place not only in the Disney canon, but also in the hearts of audiences worldwide, proving that sometimes a single glass slipper can save an entire studio. 1950 also sees the English publication of The Theory and Practice of Hell by German sociologist and Buchenwald survivor Eugen Kogon. At first glance, one might ask, hadn't everything already been exposed at Nuremberg? The trials had shown the horror of the camps with photos, films, and harrowing testimonies. But Kogon does something very different. Nuremberg shows, Kogon explains. Rather than a fragmented presentation of crimes, his book offers a systematic analysis of the concentration camp universe, its hierarchy, its daily routines, its categories of prisoners, its punishments, even its economic logic. He dissects the camps not only as sites of atrocity, but as a bureaucratic machine of domination. This was groundbreaking. Written in 1946 and translated into English in 1950, the book gave the world its first sociology of the camp system. It revealed not only the brutality of the SS, but also the terrifying normality with which cruelty was organized and routinized. For post-war Germany, it became a cornerstone of memory and moral reflection. The South Pacific original Broadway cast album continues to dominate the U.S. music scene, holding the #1 spot on Billboard's best-selling albums chart for weeks on end. This recording had been released in 1949, but it truly topped the charts from mid-1949 through the spring of 1950, eventually spending an astonishing 69 consecutive weeks at #1. A few elements make this achievement truly remarkable. It was one of the first Broadway musicals released on the then new LP long-playing record format, making it more accessible and easier to listen to than the older multi-disc 78 RPM sets. The album's popularity helped popularize the LP format for musical theater and classical genres, and culturally, the music of South Pacific became woven into the American post-war psyche. Songs like Some Enchanted Evening, Happy Talk, There Is Nothing Like a Dame, and You've Got to Be Carefully Taught turned into instant standards heard on radio, in homes, and even influencing fashion trends. On the pop music front, a novelty song entitled Rag Mop by the Ames Brothers captures the nation's attention. First hitting the charts in early January, the track reaches #1 on the U.S. Billboard bestsellers list and stays there for several weeks. What makes Rag Mop so catchy is its quirky lyrics. It mostly spells its own title, Raggmopp, and its upbeat 12-bar blues rhythm. It's considered a proto-rock and roll song, hinting at the rock explosion to come later in the decade. With over 1 million copies sold, it's one of the first massive hits of the post-war music boom, embodying the fun, light-hearted spirit Americans sought in 1950 after years of war and hardship. February 20, 1950. A new American comic strip, Big Ben Bolt, launches in newspapers nationwide. Created by Elliot Kaplan and brought to life by artist John Cullen Murphy, the strip follows the adventures of Ben Bolt, a heavyweight boxing champion who was also an articulate college graduate and part-time journalist. Far from the stereotypical brute, Ben is a thoughtful protagonist who eventually transitions to journalism after a ring injury. In its earliest years, Big Ben Bolt appears in over 200 papers across the U.S., signaling immediate popularity. The comic spins stories filled with not only sports but also mystery, romance, and even occasional supernatural twists. It earns Murphy the National Cartoonist Society's Award for Best Story comic strip in 1971, proof of its enduring narrative appeal. Natalie Cole, February 6. American singer and songwriter, she achieved international success, blending R&B and jazz, and was the daughter of legendary crooner Nat King Cole. Karen Joy Fowler, February 7, American author, best known for her novel The Jane Austen Book Club and her genre-blending works of speculative fiction. Luis Donaldo Colosio, February 10, Mexican politician and presidential candidate. He became a symbol of political reform before his assassination in 1994. Mark Spitz, February 10, American swimmer and 9-time Olympic champion. He became a sporting legend after winning 7 gold medals at the 1972 Munich Games. Steve Hackett, February 12, English guitarist and songwriter. He gained fame as a member of the progressive rock band Genesis during the 1970s. Michael Ironside, February 12, Canadian actor known for his intense performances in science fiction and action films, including Total Recall and Starship Troopers. Peter Gabriel, February 13, English singer, songwriter, and activist. He first rose to fame as the lead vocalist of Genesis before launching a successful solo career. Tsui Hark, February 15, Hong Kong filmmaker and producer. He revolutionized modern Chinese cinema with his work on martial arts epics and supernatural thrillers. Miu, February 22, French actress known for her nuanced performances in both drama and comedy. She became a key figure in 1970s and 1980s French cinema. Neil Jordan, February 25, Irish film director and novelist, acclaimed for his atmospheric storytelling in films like The Crying Game and Interview with the Vampire. Nestor Kirchner, February 25, Argentine politician and lawyer. He served as president of Argentina from 2003 to 2007, overseeing economic recovery and political reform. Jonathan Cain, February 26, American musician and songwriter, best known as the keyboardist for the rock band Journey and co-writer of hits like Don't Stop Believin'. Marcel Mauss, February 10, French sociologist and anthropologist, best known for his seminal essay, The Gift, which explored the social and moral foundations of exchange in traditional societies. A nephew of Émile Durkheim, Mauss helped shape modern anthropology by emphasizing the interconnection between economy, ritual, and social cohesion. His work influenced generations of thinkers, from Claude Lévi-Strauss to Pierre Bourdieu. Raphael Sabatini, February 13, Italian. English author of historical adventure novels, he gained fame with swashbuckling classics like Scaramouche and Captain Blood, many of which were adapted into successful Hollywood films in the 1920s and 1930s. Carl Gutte Jansky, February 14, American physicist and radio engineer who discovered radio waves emanating from the Milky Way, effectively founding the field of radio astronomy. Though not widely known to the general public, his work opened a new frontier in space observation.